If you're like me and you own a bunch of domains, you've purchased them to different providers, you can hardly remember the logins or where they're stored. In fact, I've got a spreadsheet with everything on so I can actually remember all this stuff. I've got to remember multiple logins, multiple ways of doing this stuff. Is it through a cPanel? Is it through something else? I don't know. I'm not a technical person like that. I don't want to know. Well, that's how it was before. And then I found an app called Cloudflare. I have no affiliation with them, but I want to share it today because it is awesome. You get free SSL, free domain attacks protection, free content management system in the cloud, or CDN, content delivery network, which means your websites are just faster. It protects you from so much stuff, makes your websites better. And did I mention it's totally free for most people? Please listen in. This episode could change your life so much for the better in terms of your technical faff around whole management of DNS, website domains, DKIM, all that stuff that people love telling you need to do. And now there's a super easy way to do it. Listen in to find out more. So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools, and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits, and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day, and this is Systemize Your Success. Okay, so back in the day, I had a spreadsheet with all of my dozens of domain names on there, which company I'd used to buy them from, where the DNS was hosted. It was all a bit of a pickle. And I had to remember how to log into them and where to find them. And sometimes just making a small change would mean I'd have to spend hours figuring it all out. I did end up hiring a web guy who helped me do much of this, but it was still his problem now, not mine. Somebody was still dealing with it, and I was paying for that. It also meant that it was just difficult to get stuff done. If I wanted to put a new web page, say on my CRM, I had to update the DNS settings. If I wanted to change where my emails were coming from for a subdomain, or just to create a subdomain in the first place, I had to then go and log into wherever it was hosted, find the DNS settings, figure out on that particular platform how to do it all, and then change them. It often fell back on me because I just wanted it done there and then, rather than waiting for my web developer to wake up 3 days from now from the weekend and fix it there when the job's already finished. So I was the one that ended up often doing this, even though I tried to find support. That's when I actually went on a cool marketing course by a guy called Russell Bronson. And on there, one of the throwaway things that they mentioned when we were setting things up was go onto Cloudflare, set it up, and then that's basically how you're going to manage your domains going forward. It was a simple thing to do. It took a couple of minutes to set up. I didn't understand why it was free. I actually paid for it at the beginning, thinking I should pay for something because it sounds amazing. In the end, I canceled my subscription because there was no need to pay for this. It's a totally free app, and it's designed to help protect your website, to make it faster, and to allow you to manage it much more easily. I'm going to run through some of the top things that I use it for. There may be many others, but these are the ones that specifically use it for on a regular basis. And it's made my life so much easier. I'm going to start with the one that really pushed me to share this episode because it is awesome. And that is when you have Cloudflare installed, it allows many other third-party apps to talk to it directly without your involvement. That means that, say you are setting up a new subdomain, or you want to add a subdomain with email capabilities, for example. You want to you need to set up your DKIM settings so you don't get spam flagged up and all the rest of it. All these things we have to constantly do in the back end in DNS. There's now a super easy way. Sign up for Cloudflare and let your third-party app, like you want your CRM, for example. I use Go High Level, and that has this integration built in, and many others do. You literally click a button, it says automatically set up my DNS. It goes off, you log into Cloudflare through the window that pops up, and then it does it all for you. It even deletes the old ones that aren't necessary anymore and changes things so it's all perfect. And then minutes later, it's live. It's not like with a typical DNS server where you've got to wait 4 hours or even 24 hours for it to propagate. On the website, on Cloudflare, it does say you have to wait a few hours. I've never waited more than 5 minutes. So maybe there's some, edge cases where it will take a bit longer. But I was doing it with a client the other day, and it was on his main website, and he wanted to set up some subdomains inside his Go High Level account. So we basically did all the DNS settings through this thing I was talking about, this native integration. So it was all instant and seamless. And his website went down, and he was like panicking. And I was like, just wait. Like literally 90 seconds later, bang, up again. Seamless, painless, and he was like, that's just amazing, because the faff he had to go through before. So that's really why I'm showing this, because it makes it so much easier to do the stuff that we have to do. Now I'm going to talk about a bit more the techie stuff, which is super cool. And again, just to remind you, this is all for free, and you're probably paying a lot of money for some of these things. So if you're listening, you're going to probably save yourself hundreds of pounds a year just by understanding why you should be using Cloudflare. So firstly, the simplicity of your DNS management was one of the things at the top of my list when I first got Cloudflare. That's because I had different domains hosted with different people. I had to remember where they were. When I logged in, I couldn't remember where the DNS settings were. I'd have to click around all over the place. I've got my website hosted on Kinsta, and I've got domains on Fasthost, and I've got some on Big Daddy or whatever that's called, and all of the GoDaddy, sorry. And so each time I log into any of those to do anything, it's a different layout. And I've got to remember how you find it. And it can take minutes, 10 minutes sometimes to actually find them. However, you can simply go into Cloudflare, link your website. You have to update a couple of name servers, they're called. It takes literally a minute to do. And that's the last time you'll ever log into your parent or the hosting site ever again. Cloudflare then manages everything from its end, and you only have one login and one dashboard to deal with. That is absolutely priceless. You can also add users onto the Cloudflare account, as far as I'm aware, or you can share your password. Obviously, if you do something like LastPass, so you can give people access, like your web developer access, if you need to. They only need to have one access now, and therefore you makes it a hell of a lot easier for you to manage all that as well. And as I mentioned before, when you make these changes, it happens instantly or in seconds rather than the hours or days that it can sometimes take. The next thing is security, and this has a couple of massive benefits. One is just the security bit, and the second is the cost savings that come with it. So this is one of the key things you should be listening to. So free SSL and HTTPS certificates for your website. So what that means in plain English is when you go to a web browser, it'll say S on the end of HTTP, and that's like saying it's secure. And that's because it's got an SSL certificate. Now, if I've got the technical bits about this a little bit wrong, forgive me. It doesn't really matter. The fact is you need one on every single website you own. And depending on your provider, you may be paying for this as a separate thing, especially if you have multiple subdomains on a website. So it's worth checking out if the Cloudflare that's available at the time you're listening to this has that option for free SSL certificates on all the websites it has on there. If it does, it could end up saving you money. I know for a fact for me, when I was using Fasthost, I was paying about £120 a year for a domain-wide SSL certificate and another 70 quid or something a year for a single domain. So I saved about £190 per year on just that one hosting service by moving into Cloudflare. Those were my main websites. So for doing absolutely nothing, for taking minutes, it was an easy thing to do. And that's every single year going forward. And there's no renewals, there's no expiries. It just happens in the background because it's hosted on there. Again, just check your circumstances, make sure it's right for you. Don't take my non-technical word for this. I'm not a web developer or a webmaster, but this is the stuff that I've learned and do in my business. Other things it does, it hides your IP address to make it harder to attack. It's got automatic DDoS protection. So that's basically when websites start hammering your website to try and break it, and they can hack you in and steal stuff. It defends all that. There's even a button you can press on the dashboard that says you're being attacked. Hit this button, and it basically shuts down your website the minute you get there. And I just literally logged in as I'm on this, so I was just looking for that button to disable my website if you're under attack. And it's got a couple of new things. One is continuous script monitoring. This is basically going to make sure no one's hacking the code in the back of my site. Email address obfuscation. I can't say that word, but it basically takes off the email address so bots can't find it. And also the hot link protection, so people can't link to my images off site as well. These things all come for free. There's a bunch of other stuff I've not even looked at. So you can go and dive into this as much as you want. And there is some cool stuff in here. So all that and lots more. Cool. It also, as I said before, and this is a really important one for you if you have a big website, you're delivering lots of content, maybe you've got a blog, and this is one that actually makes a huge difference to sales. So one of the things that I've learned over the years is that the friction that people feel on your site, loading speeds is one of the big things, is a big factor in determining if they're going to buy from you. So if your site fails to load fast, then there's a good chance that it's going to have a negative impact on your sales. With Cloudflare, you get what's called CDN, or Content Delivery Network, which means that I understand it in my semi-technical brain, that basically it allows your website to be delivered from different places around the world. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but it means it delivers faster, and that's all that we really care about. It also caches website content locally to reduce the demand on the servers, which then speeds up the loading as well. Again, I'm at the technical things a bit wrong. All you care about is the website loads faster and you get more sales as a result. That's what's good. And a couple of final things. It's a highly reputable, highly trusted site. You can do your own research on it, but it's, I think, 5 out of 5 stars on everything I've ever seen. I have never had any problems with it, and nobody I know who use it has. It also means, one last thing, that if your site ever goes down for any reason, instead of just getting a 404 error, you can actually automatically put on a nice message to maybe redirect them to somebody else, or just say, we'll be back soon, gone for a coffee, or whatever you want. And that's, again, something that can be done at the DNS level. So it's like, it doesn't matter what happening to your hosting element, this is going to happen right at the very sort of base level, if you like. So definitely worth having a look at as well. And finally, if you're not convinced, if you think this sounds too technical, it genuinely isn't. It will take you less than 5 minutes to put a website from where it currently is onto here. It does not affect your hosting. It doesn't affect, say if you're on Kinsta, for example, or you're on GoDaddy, it doesn't affect where the site's hosted. There's no migration of your WordPress site and your images. Nothing changes. All that changes is what we call your name servers. That means when the browser, say a Google browser or a Chrome, whatever, looks for your website, it will go and find Cloudflare, first of all, and Cloudflare will tell it where to go and find your website. It's like a bridge between you and the host, but that bridge is all of these things we've just described. It's security, it's speed, it's reliability, it's all of those things built into one. And as I said before, it's totally free. Go and check it out for yourself. If you head over to sys.academy/tools, you'll find a link to Cloudflare. And if I do happen to find a discount code, I'll put it on there for you. And there you'll also find a bunch of other cool tools and apps that we use and recommend. And remember, we only recommend apps on this site that I use every single day, I believe in, and I believe that can benefit other people. So check them out. And also, please do remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any future cool app recommendations like this and many more besides. Have a lovely day.